particular session on the understanding and developing the organization culture, we will talk about what is the culture, levels of the corporate culture, emergence and purpose of culture, interpreting culture, aspects of organizational culture, case study, research papers, book recommendation and references as usual. So, culture is what motivates and retains the talented employees, and here we find that is the when we try to understand the culture. So, culture is the set of values, norms, guiding beliefs and the understanding that is shared by the members of the an organization and taught to the new members is the correct way to think, feel and behave. So, we have to understand that is the organizations are having certain core values, and the practices of the employees or executives of that organization, they follow these core values or norms. So, naturally whatever the top management asks to follow from their employees as a value or norms or the guiding belief, then it is the these practices will create a culture of that particular organization is there. So, it is not anywhere, that is it is the written somewhere, but it is the unwritten, right, and it is the feeling part of the organization is there. So, somebody asks this, how is the culture? So, then the people say that here is the culture, and according to their belief they explain the culture of the organization is there. So, every organization has two sides of the work, formal structures and systems and the informal values, norms and assumptions of the corporate culture is there. So, therefore, here when we are talking about the two sides are there, so it is both including the formal and informal both. So, normally when we are talking about the formal during the orientation program, in the beginning of this the joining of the organization, the employees have been told that is what are our values and norms are there, and what are the do's, do nots, and what is acceptable and not acceptable formally. And similarly, they by working in that organization, they also understand that what will not work here, and this particular practice, that is the what will not work here, and that practice is informal, and slowly and slowly the employees, they make an assumption and understanding basically, that is what will work here and what will not work here, and then they practice that self, and they also become the part of that particular culture. Now, certain employees are not able to cope up with that particular values, norms or practices, and naturally then employees turnover increases and the employees leave the organizations are there. So, therefore, it is the first and foremost is very important to understand the culture, that is what is the culture is there. It is only when managers try to implement the new strategies, structures systems that go against basic culture norms and values, that they come face to face with the power of culture is there. So, therefore, whenever if any new employee joins, a new manager joins, and then he brings the new strategies or structure or systems, then definitely there will be certain resistance also, because it will go against the basic culture of this organization is there. So, here there will be the conflict between the power of culture. So, organization culture exists at the two levels, observable symbol and underlying values are there. So, when we are talking about these observable symbol, then it is the always whatever has been felt and seen. So, therefore, on the surface are visible there the artifacts and observable behaviors are there. The way people dress and act, the very simple example is there, that is like the formal dressing is required, office layout will be this which is visible, the type of the control system and the power structures used by the company, and the symbols of this the logo, symbols, stories and the ceremonies organization members share. So, therefore, in that case this will be the visible artifacts will be there, and from there the employees will learn, that is the how to work on this. The visible elements of the culture, however, reflect the deeper values in the minds of the organization members, and these underlying values, assumptions, beliefs, thought process, it operates unconsciously to define the culture. For example, here the steel case built a new pyramid shaped corporate development center that has scattered open thought stations with whiteboards and the other idea inspiring features. There is an open atrium for the ground floor to top with a giant ticking pendulum is there. So, therefore, here you will find that is the whenever we want to bring something new, right. So, pyramid shaped corporate development center means that is going from the vertically in the scattered open thought stations, then that will be create a particular culture. So, the new building is a visible symbol, the underlying values are openness is there. So, therefore, in that case there is an understanding with each other. So, openness is there, collaboration, teamwork, innovation and constant change is there. So, here it is very important that is we are having this understanding of the collaboration with each other or the teamwork, working togetherness and the innovation and the constant change that will create a new understanding in the organization. The attributes of culture, they display themselves in many ways, but typically evolve into a pattern set of activities carried out through the social interactions are there. So, the people know and they understand that is the what is the pattern is there, and there the set of activities they carried out and making that social interactions. So, those patterns can be used to interpret the cultures. So, by learning through the social interactions whatever they learn, there will be the pattern set of activities and that will be used to interpret the culture will be there. Levels of corporate culture are there. So, one is here tips of the iceberg you see. So, observable symbols, ceremonies, stories, slogans, behaviors, dress, physical setting is there, and therefore, this will be about the levels of the corporate culture is there, and the underlying values, assumptions, beliefs, attitude, feelings are there, and here you will find that is it is giving the different which is not seen. So, therefore, when we talk about the learning from the iceberg, so here at the tip is that is the observable, while and the while when we see that is the one has to understand because it is not visible, and that is about these the underlying values, assumptions, beliefs, attitudes and the feelings are there, and therefore, they will understand that is the what type of this will attitudes will work here, or what type of the beliefs are there in the organization. The culture provides the people with a sense of organizational identity and generates in them a commitment to belief and values that are larger than themselves are there. So, the idea that become the part of the culture can come from anywhere within the organization. So, therefore, the idea generation, idea creation nowadays the any organization will be successful when it is an innovative organization, and to be an innovative organization it is within an organization is there. So, organization's culture generally begins with a founder of the early leader who articulates and implements particular ideas and values as a vision. So, these vision, philosophy or business strategies are there, and these business philosophy or business strategies when they will be lead to the success and they become the institutionalized. In an organization culture emerges that reflects the vision and strategy of the founder or the leader is there. For example, the culture at in and out burger, a fast food chain with the 232 stores in the western United States reflect the values and philosophy of the founders Harry and the Esther Snyder. So, the Snyders create a corporate culture based on the idea that running a successful business depends on one thing, and treating the people on the front lines right. So, therefore, in that case this is the Snyder's this is becoming the very important aspect in which they go by this on the Snyder's the guidelines. In and Out was founded in the 1948, but the values of the quality, service and taking care of the employees remain at the core of the company culture a culture that has inspired the intense loyalty among both employees and customers. Culture serve the two critical functions in the organizations, to integrate the members so that they know how to relate to one another, and to help the organization adapt to the external environment. Internal integration means that the members develop a collective identity and know how to work together effectively. It is culture that guides day-to-day working relationships, and determines how people communicate within the organization, what behavior is acceptable or not acceptable, and the how power and status are allocated. So, here it is very important, that is the to integration of the members is very necessary. So, that they, unless and until the employees, they do not integrate themselves with the organization practices, then they cannot build the culture is there. Second is to help the organization, they require to adopt the external environment also. So, here as per the need of the time, the practices will also keep on changing, but the basic values and norms that remain the same. So, therefore, here the people, they understand and determine that is the what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and how power and status are the allocated to the employees. The external adaptation refers to the how the organization meets the goal, and deals with the outsiders culture, and that helps guide the daily activities of the employees to meet the certain goals. It can help the organization to respond rapidly to customer needs or to moves of a competitor, and the organization's culture also guides employees decision making in the absence of the written rules or policies are there. Thus, both the functions of the culture are related to building the organization's social capital by forging either positive or negative relationships, both within the organization and with the outsiders are there. So, here we will find that is this is becoming an external adaptation was there, and the people are making this understanding, that is the how one can form these with the outsiders, and within the organization also he can develop a positive relationship, or it may be convert into a negative relationship. So, external adaptation is the naturally the culture, because the culture will interact with the outsiders, and daily activities of employees to meet the certain goals are there. To identify and interpret the culture requires that people make inference based on the observable artifacts are there. So, artifacts can be studied, but are the hard to decipher accurately. An award ceremony in one company might have a different meaning than it does in the another company, and to understand what is really going on in an organization requires detective work and probably some experience as an insider. The following figure shows some aspects of the organization that can be observed to help decode the organization culture. These include rites and ceremonies, stories and myths, symbols, organization structures, power relationships, and the control systems are there. So, therefore, when we are making this interpretation, then these interpretation aspects of organization culture, that is going through the symbols, rites and ceremonies, stories, and the myths are there. That what every when the new employee joins, the senior employees, they keep on telling these stories to the young employees, and the young employees they perceive that particular culture in his mind, that what type of the practices are here, and he creates an image of the organization with the help of these particular stories. So, this is the power relationships which will be maintained by the employees into the organizations, and there will be the control systems will be there, and these control systems will lead to the organizational structures, and therefore, the organization structures, they are the best representation of the culture of the organization, because the higher is the decentralization, then the decentralization culture is there, higher is the power concentration. So, then it will be that is the no delegation, no decentralization. So, this type of the practices will be working there. Then Another very important the symbol of this understanding the culture is the rites and ceremonies. So, cultural values can typically be identified in rites and ceremonies, the elaborated planned activities that make up a special event and are often conducted for the benefit of the audiences there. So, managers hold rites and ceremonies to provide dramatic example what a company values. So, these are the occasions that reinforce specific values, create a bond among people for sharing the important understanding and celebrate heroes and heroines who symbolize important beliefs and activities are there. So, one type of the right that appears in organization is a rite of passage which facilitates the transition of employees into the new social roles are there. So, organizations are diverse as a religious orders, alliance and the fraternities, businesses and the military use rights to initiate the new members and communicate the important values are there. So, here it is becoming very important that is the manager understands the rights and ceremonies are there, and there is always a bond is created for sharing the important understanding, and heroes and heroines who symbolizes important beliefs are there. So, one type of right that appears in organization is a rite of the passage which facilitates the transition of employees into the new social roles. So, these are the organizations that are diverse as the religious orders, alliance and the businesses are there, and now you see different nature of organizations and they will having the different the rites and ceremonies are there, and as per their rites and the ceremonies it will be decided that is the how the culture has been developed in that particular organization. Another type often used in a rite of integration which creates the common bonds and the good feelings among the employees and increase commitment to the organization. So, therefore, it is the right of integration is becoming there where the people are getting integrated with the culture, and as a result what happens, the common bonds and the good feelings among employees and increases the commitment to the organization has been incorporated. Consider the following examples. Whenever a Walmart executive visits one of the stores, he or she leads employees in the Walmart cheer, give me a W, give me an A, give me an L, give me a Squiggly, all do a version of the twist, give me an M, give me an A, give me an R, give me a T. What is that spell? Walmart. What is that spell? Walmart. Who is number one? The customer. So, therefore, it is always become an important, that is the he or she employs Walmart cheer, that is the way that is they are belonging to that particular organization, and that is about the Walmart is there. The cheer strengthens bonds among employees and reinforces their commitment to the common goals, and this is a right of integration. So, stories and another important interpreting culture is the stories and myth. Stories are narratives based on the true event that are frequently shared among employees and told to the new employees to inform them about an organization. So, many stories are about company heroes who serve as models, are ideal for upholding culture norms and values are there. So, some stories are considered legends because the events are historic and may have been embellished with the fictional details are there. So, other stories are myth which are consistent with the values and beliefs in the organization, but are not supported by the facts. So, stories keep alive the primary value of the organization and provide a shared understanding among the employees are there. So, stories and myth becomes the very important interpreting culture mechanism, where the people they understand from the stories of the senior employees, those who are working there, and they decide that is the how the things are going on, and they work accordingly. So, employees at IBM hear a story about the female security guard who challenged IBM's chairman. So, although she knew who he was, the guard insisted that the chairman could not enter a particular area because he was not carrying the appropriate security clearance. So, rather than this getting the reprimanded or fired, the guard was praised by for all diligence and commitment to maintaining the security of IBM's buildings. So, therefore, it is the very important that is the employees when they follow their duties, when they make sure that is they are working on these particular aspects of their rights and duties are concerned, and then they do not make any consideration in that in discharging their duties, that will be very much appreciated. So, by telling this story, the employees emphasize both the importance of following the rules and the critical contributions of every employee from the bottom to the top of the organization is there. So, another interpreting culture is through the symbols. So, a symbol is something that represents the another thing. So, in one sense ceremonies, stories and the rites are the all symbols, because they symbolize the deeper values of their employees. So, therefore, when the employees they manage their celebrations or the ceremonies, then they will be they will become the symbol. So, another symbol is a physical artifact of the organization is there, and in that case if there is not a tacit message is there, but there can be a physical message can be there in an act of the organization. Now, in one case physical symbols are powerful because they focus attention on a specific items are there. At the headquarters of the mother, a small London based advertising agency known for its strong culture and of its ads, there are no private offices, and in fact except for the restrooms there are no doors in the whole place. So, this headquarter design symbolizes and reinforces the cultural values of open communication, collaboration, creativity and equality is there, and accordingly the decision will be decided. The organization structure is also a reflection of its culture. Does it have a rigid mechanistic structure or a flexible organic structure is there? The way in which the people and departments are arranged into a whole, and in the degree of the flexibility and autonomy people have tells a lot about which culture values are emphasized in the organization. Here are a couple of examples. To get a struggling Chrysler back on its feet quickly after bankruptcy organization, CEO Sergio Marconi cut several layers of management to flatten the structure and get top executives closer to the business of making and selling vehicles. And Marconi also chose a fourth floor office in the technical center rather than occupy the top floor executive suite to symbolize the importance of top executives being close to the engineers and supervisors making day-to-day decisions are there. So, therefore, the organization structures will always reflect the relationship, and they will create a message to the other employees, that is there is a power distance or there is not any power distance is there, and accordingly this will be decided by the organization structure. So, director interpreting the culture to the customers, sales and sales support people, department managers, store managers, buyers, merchandise managers and direction executive team is there. So, everywhere that there is a classification of customers, those customers who are very luxurious customers, those who are having the moderate their demand or the moderate functions are there, and one is that is the low functions are there. So, sales and sales support people, they are department managers, so they make this the merchandise in that particular way. So, this is the directors and the executive teams are there, those who work and they interpret the culture. So, power relationships, looking at power relationship means the deciphering who influences or manipulates or has the ability to do so. Which people and departments are the key power holders in the organization. In some companies, finance people are quite powerful, whereas in others, engineers and designers have the most power. Now, another aspect is considering the whether power relationships are formal or informal. So, such as whether people have power based primarily on their position in the hierarchy or based on the other factors such as their expertise or admirable character. And consider the following examples. At W.L. Gore, few people have titles and no one has a boss. So, rather than people having the power based on their position, leaders emerge based on who has a special good idea and can recruit people to work on it. The another very important the interpreting the culture symbol is, that is about the control system. The final element relates to the control system or the inner working of the how the organization controls people and operations. So, this includes looking at such thing as how information is managed, whether the managers apply behavior outcome control related to the employee activities, quality control system, methods of financial control, reward system, and the how decisions are made. The examples of the how control system reflects culture are Netflix. The latest employees make most of their own choice, even in how to compensate themselves and how much vacation to take. The freedom combined with the responsibility reflects that the marketing manager, that is Heather McLeary, refers to as a tough fulfilling the fully formed the adult culture. So, here we find that is these are the certain the parameters or dimensions are there. By observing these parameters or dimensions, you can understand the culture of that particular organization. This is a case study, that is a Mindtree Consulting Private Limited, and here belong to the three different nationalities. It is by the foundation of Mindtree Consulting and were built into two specific areas: edge target business consulting and the implementation on the enterprise side, and the product realization serves in the networking domain in the technology side. This case study will help you to understand that is the how the culture in an organization and the team building culture, how it can make an organization to work differently. And here the role of the communication in the decision making, that is also important, and here mentioned in this interesting in this case study, that is the whenever a decision is to be taken, then how the communication plays an important role. I am sure that this case study will be helping you to understand that is the how we can go by by understanding the culture and how these decisions and the communications are to be done in an organization. This is a research paper, understanding the influence of organizational culture and the group dynamics on organizational change and learning is there. The purpose of this study is to investigate the relationship between the organizational culture, group dynamics and organizational learning, so whatever the change is there. Now, this study extends research in the area of group and organizational learning by identifying cultural phenomena that when manifested had significant influence on group's member response to organizational change and their capacity to learn. In particular, this study highlights the need to be aware of the characteristics unique to the organization and its culture is there. The another paper, that is positioning organizational culture in knowledge management research, and the purpose of this paper is to propose a conceptual model for understanding the impact of organizational culture on knowledge management processes and their link with the organizational performance. It is suggested that organizational culture should be assessed as a multi-level construct comprising artifacts, espoused beliefs and values and underlying assumptions. A holistic view of organizational culture and knowledge management processes and their link with the organizational performance is presented. These are the findings of this particular paper, that it talks about, that is the potential implications of the organizational culture levels for this creation, sharing and application of knowledge are elaborated. In addition, the paper offers the possible new insight into the impact of organizational culture to the various organizational management processes, and then link in the organizational performance is there. So, while going through this research paper, you will be able to understand a number of possible relationship in the organization on the basis of their jobs and work is concerned. I am sure when you will go through this paper, you will also understand that is how the culture can be adopted by the different organizations. This is the book recommendation and which is talk about the culture clarity, understanding and developing your organization culture. This book actually help you, that is to understand how does organizational culture affect the health and productivity of its members, in what way does organizational culture retain the members and grow with the new members, and how these dysfunctional patterns in organizations that prevented them from becoming a healthy organizational culture that could problem solve through collaboration and resulting in the quality growth is there. This is the book which I have mentioned. These are the references, and you will find while going through these references much detail about knowing about the culture and its practices and how people learn the culture and what are the different culture are there in the organization. Thank you.